this. Hi, I'm DJ Lady Jock from Music My Way on 88.1 FM St. Louis KDHX, and I have with here to us today, Mr. Najee.
I like the way you say my name.
Did I say it right?
Yeah, you did. But you know, it's funny. You go to different places, people say it differently. Some people, when you go to the deep south, they say Najee, you know, and then but it's Najee. Very simple, very simple. But you don't have to say Mr. either. You know, you don't have to say.
Okay,
that.
okay, all right. So we're gonna start out like this. Tell us about where you were born and raised.
Oh, well, I was born and raised in New York City. Manhattan, born in Manhattan. And when I was about 11 years old, we moved to Queens, Jamaica, Queens, New York, which is, I don't know, for those of you who fly into JFK, into New York City, JFK, well, I grew up close to the airport there. Same area as Donald Trump, but he was in North Jamaica, which is the rich area. I was in South Jamaica, which is the poor area, working class area. But anyway, that's where I grew up. And that's where, you know, I credit most of my education, you know.
Cool. Okay. Okay. So I realize what your first name is. You like that first name because you know your middle name.
I love my first
sexy.
name. I just my friends call me by my middle name, Najee. So you know.
Okay.
My first name is no secret. I just, you know, if you're my friend, you ain't gonna call me by my government. You know what I'm saying?
See, that's why Wiz called me T.
There you go.
And I call him Wiz because I don't call him by his government name either.
There you go.
Okay, so what age did you start playing the instrument?
You know, I seriously began to be serious with it when I was about 14. But I always say it was before that because I picked up the clarinet first. And it was in elementary school that I first got exposed to the saxophone. And I started with clarinet and then you know, picked up saxophone and flute. Around high school is when I made the decision that I was going to be a professional musician. And it's a true story, but people always laugh, but it really is a true story. When I was in high school, I went to a school called August Martin High School, which was an aviation school for kids who wanted to be involved in the aviation industry. So I went there to become a pilot, you know. I was involved in the program. I was there with Russell Simmons too. We were classmates. And you know, I was in high school that I took my very first tenor saxophone solo in the auditorium in school. And after that, all the girls knew my name. So at the age of 15, I had a quick career change right there and then, you know. That's right.
So what type of music that you were inspired by at the time before you actually, you know, start
becoming a professional? Well, I was exposed to a lot as a kid because my mother was an avid listener of different kinds of music. She was from the West Indies. She was from St. Thomas, Virgin Islands. Oh. But so I got a chance to hear a lot of Caribbean. I heard a lot of Latin music, a lot of jazz. You know, I remember hearing, you know how the story is when you were young, your mother every Saturday, you had to get up and clean the house. Well,
right.
Be all kind of music playing. So that's what I was exposed to. And I just gravitated to the sound of the saxophone because she loved it. She played all kind of gospel back then. You know, I remember hearing, you know, the Edwin Hawkins singers, you know, When Jesus Walked and all that stuff, you know, back then. Mm-hmm. So I was exposed to a lot. So growing up in the New York environment, one of the things that we had in the educational system at the time was if you were a music student, you were encouraged to play as many genres of music as you possibly could. So we studied classical, jazz. And when I was a member of the Jazzmobile program in New York City, under Billy Taylor, I had the wonderful opportunity to study with Jimmy Heath and Frank Foster, Frank West, and Ernie Wilkins. So I got to study jazz under those gentlemen, and you know, and their thing since big band, you know, they worked in orchestras and things like that. They always encouraged the students to be multi-instrumentalists. So you couldn't just play saxophone; you had to play flute, clarinet. You had to be a doubler, basically. Yeah. So that's where flute and saxophone became my voice.
Yeah. Okay. So if you had to pick your favorite saxophone player back in the day, who would you pick?
I don't know if I had one, you know. I mean, there was my teachers who were great, you know, they were professional musicians who were teaching high school classes, you know, but I mean, there was the sound of Joe Henderson, George Coleman, Junior Walker. You know, later on it was Grover Washington Jr., David Sanborn, Michael Brecker, John Coltrane, of course. You know, he was a big influence
Yes.
on me on tenor saxophone. Charlie
Okay.
Parker. So, you know, I had several, you know.
Okay. I like that list. I take that. I got some of them
Yeah.
albums upstairs. I
Oh
take
yeah.
it. I take it.
Mhm.
Yes, sir. So did you start your own band at one point before you
Oh
when you
yeah.
were teenage? Okay.
Yeah, well, I played in, you know, back in Queens in New York, we had the thing that we were into were R&B bands, you know, back then before rap. You know, the bands were the thing. You're either in a gang or you're in a band, you know, or a basketball team.
Hmm.
I'm exaggerating a little, but yeah,
I
the
know.
bands were very popular. We had the Battle of the Bands in New York all that time, and
Yeah.
you know, so I grew up in a community. Even Marcus Miller, he's from the same neighborhood. Tom
Okay.
Brown, even the rappers Run DMC and LL Cool J, and you know, we're all from the same area. So it was just an area, man, where music was very, very. It was a major activity for most young people.
Hmm.
So I grew up playing in R&B bands, you know, and when I was 18, I did my first world tour with an R&B band called Area Code. We toured all over Europe and Central America and some parts of the United States and
Hmm.
backing up Miss Black America, you know. So
Mm.
that's how far back I go doing this stuff, you know.
Man, so you have toured with some amazing people like
I
Chaka
have.
Khan, but my favorite who you work with, oh my God,
Mhm.
he's no longer here with us, is
Yeah,
Prince.
that's right. Yeah.
How did you hook up with him?
You know, it was kind of a strange way, but it was through, uh, well, I was invited through a mutual friend of his to come
Okay.
to one of his shows in New York City at Madison
Okay.
Square Garden.
Hmm.
And it was myself and Maxwell. And at the time, he had Dougie Fresh in the band with him, you know,
Yes.
Dougie was doing. So he sent word to come sit in with him at an after party there in New York at a club. I brought my flute, I came, I played with him. And then maybe about, I don't know, maybe 3 months later, I get a call from Dougie Fresh. Dougie goes, yo, 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 the artist, he's looking for you. Because that's when he wasn't using the name Prince. He was going around as
Right.
the artist. So I get
Exactly.
this call. I hope you got time for this story because it's a good one. But
Oh yeah.
I get this call, and this guy gets on the phone. He says, Najee? I said, yes. He says, the artist would like to speak to you, but he's going to have to call you back. I said, oh, okay. Click. I'm like, oh man, what the heck just went on? So about 10 minutes later, same guy, I have the artist on the line. And so Prince gets on the line. He goes, yo, man, what's up? I'm like, I don't know. What's up? He says, when are you and I getting together? Now, you know, the way that came across, I didn't know how to take it. You know what
Right.
I
Right.
mean? Yeah, I heard the
Right.
rules, you know. So I said, man, I don't know, man. You tell me when, you know, I don't know. He says, well, what are you doing right now? I'm like, man, this is getting creepier and creepier as we go on. I said, I'm at home. At the time, I was living in LA, you know. He says,
Right.
why don't you come out to Minneapolis? I said, well, when do you like me to come? He says, why don't you come out right now? I'm like, oh, well, I
No,
can't come out right now. He said, when can you come out? I said, well, maybe next week I can come next week anytime. He's like, all right, I'll have somebody call you. Click, just like that. I mean, oh my
man.
God, the anxiety was just crazy, you know. So anyway, about maybe another few minutes go by and get a call from a travel agent. And he books myself and my brother. We fly us
Wow.
first class to Minneapolis, the whole nine, you know, sends a limo to pick us up from the airport and go to Paisley Park. And we end up just hanging out that night at one of the clubs, man. It was amazing. And then that night later on, like 2 in the morning, we go back to Paisley Park and start jamming. And then it
Two,
just went
two
from
you
there.
did you say 2 in the morning?
2 in the morning. We started
Oh
jamming two
God.
in the morning. The day I got there. And that went on for about, I don't know, maybe about 3 or 4 nights. And then finally he asked me to record the Rainbow Children album for him. And I
Mm.
did. And
Yes.
so we went in the studio, just he and I, for like 2 days. And we recorded that whole record with me playing flute and saxophone on it. And then a couple of days later, he asked me to join the MPG, you know.
I'm gonna send it over to my big brother Wiz because I know he
Yes,
finna
sir.
get deeper
Yes, ma'am.
with you
No,
with some music.
no, no. You've played with so many people that have impacted our lives, yours and ours. And
Oh, thank you.
you've been in a room with these people.
Yes.
You've been in verbal, it could have been jokes, could have been seriousness, but Aretha Franklin,
Yes. Mhm.
Wow.
was it cool? Was
She
it?
was she was excellent, man. You know, I only had a chance to speak to her on the phone once, but also I've had dinner with her at one of the events, you know, and like I say, man, she was just a wonderful lady, you know.
Wow.
My wife was there with me attending an event, and when she saw my wife, she asked quickly, "Well, who is that?" And when
He said, "That's the
and then when they
queen."
told her she was married to me, she was like, "Oh, okay." And she clicked with my wife very, very well, man. I mean, they started talking, and you know, they started getting into laughing, and you know, talking about, "Honey, let me make you dinner sometime," and you know, that's how she was, you know.
Oh God. Okay, so you went. Let's go from the queen. Let's go. Let's take it all the way over to playing for Mandela.
Yes, yes. Hmm.
Wow, that had
You
to
know what,
be.
man? It was such an honor. And when I say, you know, as big as a spirit he was, and as big as everybody knew him, when I had the pleasure to have lunch with him at the presidential residence, um, it was like sitting with a family member, man, just kicking it. I mean, he was joking, we were having fun. I mean, you forget, I'm talking to Nelson Mandela, you know, Madiba. If you ever go to South Africa, they affectionately call him Madiba.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm saying, man, I'm sitting here with Madiba, man, and we're just, you know, kicking it like we boys, you know, like we grew up in the hood together, you know. But yeah, he was a special man, you know, truly a special man. And much love to Winnie as well, you know. You know, it was very sad when they had the divorce. I mean, you know, that's all human stuff.
Mhm.
But they years later, I went back to tour, and she invited me to her home, and she still lived before she passed in Soweto. You know,
Mm.
she never left Soweto. She had a house, and when I tell you, man, it looked like any house in St. Louis or New York or any place else, just a common house. She had a couple of guards outside, but you know, it was a common house, man, right there in Soweto, man. And I mean, she impressed me, you know, with that, man. Like there was no, you know, not all that fluff you would expect for the first lady of South Africa at one point, you know.
Mhm. So
Yeah,
you
they were very special people, man.
you mentioned Tom Brown,
Yes,
and you mentioned flight school.
yes.
So
Mhm.
Tom Brown is a pilot.
Oh, yes, he is.
Okay,
He's
so
still a pilot. He's still
yeah.
flying.
Yes,
Uh,
which shocked
yeah,
me.
yeah. He still makes a living at it, man. He's, you know,
Yeah.
like we talk on the phone occasionally, and he's like, "Oh yeah, man, I'm getting ready to take this flight, man. I'm, you know, and but I'm gonna call you back, okay?" Let me. I'm doing.
It's interesting that you didn't get into the hip hop thing. Now I don't know your personal feelings, and we've been to found out. How did you feel about hip hop being so into jazz when it came out, and you being just a little bit older, but
Yeah,
right almost in the pocket of that? How did
yeah.
you feel?
You know, it was part of the New York culture for us, you know, so it was, you know, we didn't really have any judgment about it. Um, I have to admit that when it first came out, I didn't understand it because, you know, we were trained musicians, you know, we learned our craft from the classical standard part of how to learn music. So it was took an adjustment. But then over time, I started playing with hip hop groups. There was a group called Keymatic. I don't know if you can look them up. They had a very popular song back in the 80s called Breaking in Space. And I was the featured saxophone player on there. Now I didn't have a career as a solo artist at that time. You know, I used to just do a lot of record dates, but it ended up that record got played so much and people would even mention my name, you know, on the radio. And I'll tell you a funny story. At the time when that record came out, I was living in the Bronx, the South Bronx. And, you know, the kids in the summertime put the cardboard box out there and the record would come on. And excuse my language, but this is what they would say. When my record came on, they'd be like, yo, that's that nigga Naj, yo. That's he be playing that deaf saxophone. That's him on the radio. He be living right up there, upstairs over there. It was the funniest thing to hear. I felt so honored, man. And then later I got to play with, I got to record with Curtis Blow. I recorded with Big Daddy Kane, and a few other. Oh, and Guru. I mean, with Pharrell. Pharrell produced the last album that Guru did with Macy Gray. I played flute on it. The flute is very much out of tune, but Pharrell loved it. So that's the way we did it, because we couldn't tune to the track, the track was in some other key. But yeah, I've worked with quite a few artists. And of course, Dougie Fresh, man, I can't forget him. He's one of my dearest friends in the business, I gotta say, I don't quite understand everything I hear, I know there's some stuff I hear and I actually really like Kendrick Lamar. I like what he's doing, the stuff the way he's doing it. But what can I say, man? The conversation changes over time. It's just like in jazz when Charlie Parker and John Coltrane, Charlie Parker had a language he was speaking. Everybody caught on to that conversation, and then Miles came along, and then out of Miles came, John Coltrane, who spoke another conversation, and then the whole birth of cool jazz into, the modal Lydian jazz with McCoy Tyner and John Coltrane came, what they called free jazz back then. Then you had people like Grover Washington who came around, and the whole conversation changed again, changed the culture of jazz as we understood it. So I see the same thing happening for hip hop and other forms of music,
So as a jazz artist, how do you feel jazz is respected or disrespected when it comes to urban radio?
Well, I mean, I'm grateful for my time in '86 when I came out all the way through probably 1991. I got a lot of play on urban radio. I can't complain about it personally. I mean, I understand that when these things change, it's about commerce, radio stations and want to sell advertising time, they want to sell to advertisers. So, it became a definite split. And then when they started the whole smooth jazz genre, a lot of things changed, which we could go on for hours about that. But, I mean, it would be nice to get on some of that, some of us to get on there again, some of the, even on the Quiet Storm. I know people like Lenny Green in New York, he still plays things at night for some instrumental stuff, if it's his format. So, yeah, I can't complain, but at the same time, I miss it.
You going on tour?
I am. I've been out. We are going back. Let me see. We just finished the Berks Jazz Festival. Now our next concert is in Dallas. We're on the date with Brian McKnight and Boyz II Men. So, the beauty of what I do is I get to have a diversity of different types of genres of music festivals to play on. And that's a little different from the norm we do, but I'm glad to be invited on that, so looking forward to it.
Wow.
And then after that, I think we have Washington, D.C., and then I go to Europe for a week with the Dave Koz thing, and then come back, and then we're just gone for, the rest of the year pretty much, But my social media is NajeeOfficial.com, NajeeOfficial.com, my website. So
that's where you can reach him at.
Do you guys remember Mississippi Nights?
Yeah.
Yes.
I used to play there all the time.
That's the DJ there.
Huh?
DJ. He was the DJ there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I used to play there, man. I remember that.
Love that place.
Yeah, we used to play a theater downtown. I can't remember the name of it.
Was it the Keel? Well, it ain't. It was the name.
It was a pretty big theater too. But I've been there a few times. I went there.
The Fox?
The Fox. I did play the Fox.
Across the street from the radio station.
I remember it was like Diane Reeves and myself and George Duke.
She was just here.
He was just here.
Yeah, Jonathan Butler and I played there. I just recorded some of my new album there in St. Louis. Is it Rocket Studios? What's the name of that place?
Oh,
dang, I know it's
Rocket.
Can't remember the name of the studio, but it's a nice studio there. Mark Harris and I, but he recommended that place, and we recorded a song that he wrote there. Gosh, what was the name of that studio? But anyway, so I was just there maybe about 3-4 months ago recording, Yeah. Had a nice
Wow.
time. It was great. But yeah, man, but it's great to talk to you guys.
Thank you, man.
And
Thank
you
you.
know what? And I'll send you, if I could get your email addresses, I'll send you the new album. It's coming out May 13th. We got Allison Williams on there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we recorded the record, some of it in here in the States, some of it in Brazil, some in the UK. It's kind of diverse, but I think you might like this one. And it's really a little different twist, but it's nice. So.
That would go cool. We can
Savoir faire, that's what it's called. Savoir faire. And y'all from St. Louis,
He's
so you know that
everywhere.
French stuff,
Oh man, Allison Williams.
Let's see. Klondike Cat.
Klondike Cat.
Klondike Cat. The cartoon Klondike Cat.
Yeah, I remember
and
that.
the little mouse, Savoir faire, is everywhere.
Yeah, Savoir.
Yes.
Right, that's right.
Yes.
That's right. Oh man, now you just made a connection for me, bro.
It happens every time, don't it?
Taking me back there,
I was just a little one. But I remember the cartoon.
She's like, yo, I don't know nothing about that. Whatever you're talking about, I don't know. Yeah.
Okay,
got it.
we got you, man. We got you.
It's good to talk to y'all.
You too.
Thank you. Glad we met, and let's be friends. Let's stay in touch, okay?
Yes, sir.
I actually, Tamika, I called you today, so if you see a California number, that's mine.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so lock that in for me, okay? That's
okay.
So this way you guys can call me if you want to. Need to call me directly. Okay.
Okay. The 818.
Because I was concerned. We got the message from you on the office number, and it was forwarded to me, and I was like, wait, let me call them back. Tell them I'm coming. I'm going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. The 818 area code.
There you go.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right. So,
and I'm gonna send it to Wiz. Okay.
All right, Wiz, you got it, bro?
Yes,
You'll
sir.
get it too. So call me anytime, man. It'd be good to stay in touch with you guys. All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Appreciate
sir.
I'll be well.
Appreciate
God bless
you.
you.
Bless you.